Welcome back everybody to another Raid Shadow Legends video. So, in my previous video, we went ahead and we discussed all the different boss abilities from Doom Tower that were data mined. And I am honored and privileged for this video to have Painseer here with me. Painseer is an OG officer inside Gods and Legends. He's been playing the game for a very long time. He has sat down and taken quite some time to look over all the different boss abilities and pretty much kind of come up with a preliminary strat. The purpose of this video is to kind of give you guys ideas of what champions you most likely are going to be. Obviously, everything is subjective to change, so keep that in mind. We don't know the affinities of the bosses, we don't know how strong they are, but we do know their abilities. So being that we know their abilities, we can kind of figure out what's needed in each boss as a starting point, so that way you can have your highest chance to actually win the boss fight when you get there. Painseer, thank you so much for joining me. Please do tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Manny. So yeah, I'm a member of Gods and Legends, as Manny's mentioned. I've been playing the game for about a year. Yeah, I've completed everything in the game. I guess the main area that I spend a lot of time has been Faction Wars. So I'm really looking forward to Doom Tower. It's I guess along the similar sort of lines of really challenging like PvE content. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've also been pushing a little bit of Arena recently, just trying to, I guess, do something different while I've been waiting for Doom Tower. But since we got the new info out, I've been really excited. And so, yeah, put together some ideas on the new bosses. So
No,
cheers for that, Manny.
That's awesome. So yeah, so we're going to be going over that most likely to keep the video not too long. What we're going to do is we're going to go over 2 bosses in this video, and then we're going to cut it, and then we're going to make another video with the 3rd and 4th boss. This way we don't make this a 40-minute video and we don't rush it, and we give you all the best information that we currently have on everything. And so I guess we'll be starting off with Nether Spiderlings. Go ahead and take it over, Painseer.
Yeah, thanks. So the Nether Spider, its name's Agrath. So it has quite a few abilities, like all the bosses do. They have multiple angles that they're sort of attacking you from. And so Nether Spider, it's definitely in that camp. So I guess the idea that they've come up with is Nether Spider is basically like you have to fight it in the opposite way to how you would normally fight Spider. You can't use AoE attacks to kill the Spiderlings. You can't use turn meter reduction to buy yourself time. You can't even, you can't hit hit the Spiderlings because of their counter attacks, which then will heal the boss. So it's very restrictive on the types of champions you use, and so your typical Spider champions won't really excel in this situation. So a few things to note: the poisons that get placed are not you're not able to like resist them or place block debuffs. So champions with those kind of skill sets won't really go well here. The Spiderlings have counterattack, and like I said, they'll heal the boss. So you really want to avoid any champions that have AoE skills. So yeah, that's going to make it tough. So you're kind of going to have to tank the Spiderlings or be faster than them. Decreased speed is a useful debuff here that can maybe buy you some time since you can't reduce turn meter. So I guess that's some of the restrictions that we're thinking about in the beginning. The other thing is that the boss will combust the poison. So you can't just tank the poisons either. If they start building up and then the boss explodes them, you're going to take a lot of damage.
Right.
So in terms of strats, we're probably going to need like a cleanser or someone to be removing the poisons. The Spiderlings, as I mentioned, you should really try to avoid hitting them at all costs since they will heal the boss. And you'll be getting counterattacks from them with more poisons being placed on your champions.
Exactly.
Again, you can't reduce turn meter, and so you should be looking for like your single target nukers or poisoners for the bosses. So in terms of like your team comp, you're probably looking at something like a cleanser, sort of a debuffer for decreased defense and or weaken, a debuffer that's placing decreased speed, and then like some number of nukers. You might need a reviver or a healer on your team, depending on how much damage is dealt. So it's either going to be like 1 or 2 nukers. In terms of the cleanser role, the standout champion I think is probably going to be Doom Priest. So Doom Priest has on her passive, she heals all allies and she removes 1 random debuff. So if you can get her really fast or in a relentless set, I think she can be quite good at removing the poisons every turn that they get placed. Other cleansers will have a bit of an issue where you'll have to wait for their cooldown, so the poisons will kind of accumulate, and then the boss can combust them. So I think Doom Priest is the standout champion here. So some of the other ones that I guess are suboptimal are going to be like Bad Alcazar and Skytouch, because they've got AoE attacks on their A1s. So you want to try to steer clear of them if you can, but obviously people will be limited by their champion pools. The next role is Decrease Defense and Weaken. So for this role, Bellinor and Ceres kind of stand out. So Ceres does have an AoE on her A2, but if you manual, which we're expecting that you'll need to, you can kind of avoid using that. So I think Ceres is quite good here. Again, champions like Venus and Draco and Zargala, those kind of champions, they've got AoE attacks, so they'll get you into trouble. The AoE decrease speed debuffer, Tanix is probably a decent champion for this. So this, while it only attacks a single target, if you make it critical, then it will apply to all the other spiderlings as well. So that way you can have decreased speed on all your champions. Unfortunately, she does have a random attack here. So it means that maybe you'll end up targeting, like you'll get the counterattacks from the spiderlings, which will heal the boss as well. So this is not ideal, but I couldn't really see any champions that did this ability better than her. The other good thing is that she's a healer in herself, and she's quite tanky. So even if the spiderlings do counterattack her, she's likely to survive, and she can continue to heal the rest of your team.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely need a lot of healing for this boss.
Yeah, we don't know how hard the main boss is going to hit, but if it does hit hard, then it'll be helpful to have an extra healer on hand. I guess the last positions are going to be your single target nukers or your poisoners. So Septimus or even like a Cold Heart with low accuracy are going to be really good in this situation. Your champions like your Royal Guards and your Seers, while they do max HP damage, if you hit these spiderlings, it's going to cause you quite a bit of pain because they'll all instantly heal up the boss. They'll all counterattack, put more poisons. So I'd be leaning towards like a really low accuracy Cold Heart if you've got one, or a Septimus.
Good deal.
That's probably it for Agrath. Did you have any questions or comments, Manny?
No, I think the champions that stand out for me so far, from what I can tell, obviously given the fact that we're thinking that it's going to be a void affinity, will probably be Septimus is going to be great because he's single target and he hits like a truck, and a lot of people already have him for Spider. So that one may stand out to be one of the MVPs. And then again, like you said, Doom Priest. So those two I feel like may be really, really great for this boss. And again, this is just a first look and kind of like giving you guys a direction where we think that you should be going with these bosses as far as what kind of builds and what kind of champions you should prepare to build. But yeah, I think we covered it pretty well.
Just a reminder on this one. So the bosses that we're talking about here, these, from my understanding, these are the final bosses. Yeah. So even if you look at these and say maybe you don't have access to some of these champions, don't feel discouraged, because these are just like the generic roles. If you can get these, I think it will be an advantage. If you don't have them, you still have to be getting to stage 120 before it becomes an issue. So there'll be plenty of challenges along the way where you'll need different champions. But I expect the first few levels to be a lot easier.
Absolutely. What's the next champion now? The next boss we're going to go over?
So the next one is Kuldath, the Magma Dragon.
Magma, okay.
Yeah, so this one, some of the restrictions are going to be that you can't resist or block the Hex. You also can't remove the Hex. It's actually got an interesting ability, so that whenever you try to remove it, it instantly comes back on. And it can't be resisted or blocked. So you can't like place up block debuffs and then cleanse and expect to stop it. It'll still come on anyway. So if you get Hex on you, it's a big problem. as you would have seen on the Minotaur, it actually amplifies the damage. I believe it's double damage that
Double
you'll
damage, yeah.
take. Yeah, so it's very dangerous if you get this on your champions. You also can't use unkillable, block damage, or shields against this boss. None of those will be effective. It will still just deal damage directly to your HP. It also ignores defense on targets under Hex. So not only is it doing multiple 2 times damage, but it also, there's no damage reduction. So it will do a lot of damage if you happen to have Hex. And the boss has immunity, so you can't really place any debuffs or poisons or anything like that on it. So it's going to be quite tough in that regard. The one exception to that is Provoke. Provoke can be placed on the boss, so that gives us an avenue of attack. So I guess that's the main sort of restrictions that it places on us. In terms of like the strategies, the boss seems reminiscent of the Faction Wars boss, the stage 21 boss that you'll see on Dwarves or Undead. That basically one-shots your team. I feel like it's going to be sort of similar to that, where you're going to need to build up your HP. If it's ignoring defense on your Hex targets, well, there's not a lot of point to be building a lot of defense on your champions. So you're going to want to be careful around that. So then the next thing is that you probably want to have some revivers on hand, just so that the targets that do go down, you can revive them. And the good thing is if a target dies and then is revived, the Hex will be gone after that, I believe. So it's not the best way to remove it, but you can sort of continue the fight after that. So the big standout that we mentioned before is that Provoke is able to land on the boss. And if you've looked at the boss's skills, you'll notice that the A1 is only a single target attack that doesn't place Hex. So if you can keep the boss provoked at all times, then you're in a pretty good situation, because you can sort of target, funnel the attacks towards one champion. And that's quite good for you. The issue is that, as we talked about, this boss may just one-shot your champions if you don't have enough HP on them, or if they happen to get Hex on them. So it's going to be challenging, but if you can keep your provoke up, it should be good. The other thing is that the boss reduces turn meter on the target, so you're going to need, most likely we'll need multiple provokers, because if one gets killed, then the provoke will instantly fall off. And the other thing is, if your turn meter is constantly being reduced, then you might find it hard to be able to reset your cooldowns on your provokes. Provokes tend to have a decent cooldown on them. So I think there's some limitations. So the kind of team comp that I'm expecting is at least 2 provokers. Yeah, so it'll be at least 2 provokers, like 1 or 2 revivers, and then you'll have like a nuker or a poisoner to start chipping away at some damage. But it's going to be a really tough one, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point, and there is no point in going in detail as far as which champions you should use, because everybody has different rosters. But we could point out Paintsier Kintayu, like who he thinks may be the MVPs. Who would you say, like, who would you not avoid legendary, I guess, but like any other champions that you'd recommend for this kind of boss?
There's a couple that stand out, which are going to be Umbral and Warchief, who have 3-turn provokes. Also, for people that don't have a big selection of champions, Drexar Blood Twin is a champion that you can get the fragments for. Right. So like a longer term solution is you can get him. He's quite a useful champion for that. But basically anyone with provoke can work. There's a lot of champions that have that. So I don't think this is like a really restrictive role. You just got to find the champions that you have. Even if you've got to use like Nahorn or someone like that who's a rare that has it.
So the idea, I guess, idea 1 is definitely try your best to keep provoke up at all times. It's kind of like you're going to be able to kind of control the boss by that mechanic. So that's one huge thing. That's what I'm picking up so far. And
yeah, so one thing about Umbral, though, although she does have provoke, the issue is that the unkillable will be ignored by the boss. So you can't sort of leverage that. But she's still a good champion. So it was Warchief is the one that has the 3-turn provoke. So they're the 2 that probably stand out. Apart from that, you're going to look. Yeah, you're going to want like an AOE reviver. So like Arbiter or Cardinal are probably the 2 best there. You guys probably fairly familiar with those 2 champions. You can use like Gorgorab or someone else. Single target revivers are not going to be as good, but they should still be fine, because it's only going to be your provoker that will be dying. The issue is that if you get one provoker die and then the second one dies before you get your cooldown off, off cooldown, then you'll have issues where you can't keep up with the boss. So I'd recommend AoE revivers, and then it has to be enemy max HP champion to really get through the boss. So your Cold Hearts or your Royal Guards, those kind of champions.
Yeah, so it looks like it's a completely, obviously every boss is going to have a completely different strategy. It looks like this boss, you don't have to worry about ads. Doesn't look like he has ads. So that's something notable.
Yeah. So the other thing that you can do is if you've got champions that don't have 100% chance to land provoke, if you're still not as progressed or you've got limited champions, you can look at using Fearsome Presence to help make up the gap. So it is the T6 mastery on the defense tree. So you guys are probably familiar with it, but Fearsome Presence can add an additional 5%. So most likely there's quite a few champions that have 100% to land provoke, but if not, then this is an option that you can use as well to help keep that provoke up at all times.
Yeah, and you can also even put you can also use the provoke set as well on non-provoke champions, just in case one falls off. It's another chance.
Yep, yeah, spot on, Manny. So that's one thing we've got to keep in mind is that there are sets that you can use in these different stages. So keep an eye out. It's probably going to be similar to the usefulness of Faction Wars sets, but on the bosses specifically, so this one, having the provoke can be useful. On some of the other ones, there are some useful sets for those as well. Some less used sets that we'll discuss when we talk to them. Any other questions on this one,
No,
Manny?
I think that covers this one up. It's pretty straightforward. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna discuss the next two bosses in the next video coming right up. I want to thank you all for watching, and thank you again, Paintsier, so much for being here with me. And we'll see you guys in a bit.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Manny. And
Pleasure.
take it easy, everyone. Good luck with your champion building. Take it easy.